I never thought I'd be afraid of something as mundane as an elevator, but after what happened in that shaft beneath the Carver building, I can't even look at metal doors without my hands starting to shake. It was a Thursday night in late October when 7 of us piled into that ancient freight elevator. We'd been celebrating Marcus's promotion at a bar 3 blocks away, and someone suggested we check out the old photography studio on the 9th floor where his girlfriend used to work. The building was mostly abandoned now, just a few artists and storage units scattered across 12 floors of pre-war architecture that the city kept threatening to condemn. The elevator was one of those industrial jobs from the 50s, all exposed rivets and accordion gates that you had to pull shut manually. Rebecca made a joke about tetanus as we squeezed inside. Her voice is still loud from the drinks we'd had. I remember the smell, metal and machine oil and something else underneath it, something organic and wrong that I couldn't quite place. Marcus pulled the gate closed with a rattling crash. The overhead bulb flickered twice before settling into a dim yellow glow that made all our faces look jaundiced. Someone pressed the button for 9. The elevator lurched upward with a grinding sound that seemed to come from the walls themselves. We made it maybe 2 floors before everything stopped. Not a sudden stop, the gradual slowing, like the building was exhaling, until we hung suspended in the shaft with only that sickly light and the sound of our own breathing. The silence that followed felt almost deliberate, like something was listening to us through the walls. Just a power thing, Derek said, already pulling out his phone. Happens all the time in these old buildings. But his phone screen showed no signal. Neither did mine. Neither did anyone's. Marcus tried the emergency call button. Nothing. He pressed it again, harder, and I heard something that made my throat tighten. A sound from somewhere above us in the shaft. Not mechanical, not human either. Something between a wheeze and a sigh, like air being forced through a narrow passage. "Did you hear that?" I asked. "Hear what?" Sarah was standing next to me, her perfume too strong in the confined space. The floor indicator above the door started to flicker. The number 3 blinked off and was replaced by something else. Not a 4, not any number I recognized. The display showed what looked like a backwards 7, or maybe a question mark lying on its side. Then it changed again, a 0 with a line through it, then symbols that weren't numbers at all. What the hell? Rebecca moved closer to the control panel, reaching out to touch the display. "Don't." I caught her wrist. I don't know why I stopped her. Some instinct deeper than thought. The temperature was rising. I felt it first on the back of my neck, a prickling warmth that spread across my skin like a fever coming on. The walls. I pressed my palm flat against the metal and jerked it back. The surface was warm, body temperature, maybe warmer. "This isn't right," I said. "The walls shouldn't be warm. It's the ventilation," Marcus said, but his voice had lost its confidence. "Heat rises in these shafts." Then we heard the breathing. It came from everywhere and nowhere, a slow, steady rhythm that didn't match any of ours. In, out, in, out, in, out. The elevator itself seemed to expand and contract with each breath, the walls flexing almost imperceptibly. Derek laughed, but it came out wrong. High-pitched and nervous. "Okay, this is officially creepy. Can we just pry the doors open and climb out?" He moved toward the gate, fingers already working at the gap between the metal panels. That's when Chen spoke up for the first time since we'd stopped. "Don't touch the doors." His voice was flat, distant. He was staring at something the rest of us couldn't see. His pupils dilated so wide his eyes looked black. "It doesn't want us to touch the doors." "It?" Sarah laughed, but the sound had a tremor in it. "What are you talking about?" Chen didn't answer. He was pressing himself back against the wall, shaking his head slowly. Tears were running down his face, though his expression hadn't changed. The breathing got louder. Derek had his fingers in the door gap now, pulling hard. The muscles in his forearm stood out as he strained against the metal. For a second, I thought he might actually do it. The doors shifted, maybe an inch, maybe less. Then we all heard it. A voice, clear as anything. It came from right behind Derek, so close it should have been breathing on his neck. Derek Christopher Morrison, his full name, spoken in a whisper that sounded like grinding metal wrapped around a human larynx. He spun around, slamming his back against the doors. "Who said that? Which one of you said that?" None of us had spoken. We were all frozen, staring at each other with the same growing horror. The elevator lurched, not up or down, sideways somehow, though that should have been impossible. My inner ear screamed that we were moving in a direction that didn't have a name. And for just a second, the wall seemed to face through us, like we were the ghosts, not the space we occupied. When everything settled, Derek was screaming. The wall behind him had opened, not like a door, like a wound. The metal had peeled back in jagged flaps, revealing something underneath that my brain couldn't quite process. It looked like static, and it was pulling him in. His face went first, pressed flat against that impossible surface, and then through it. The outline of his features visible for a moment on the other side before his neck twisted with a sound like snapping celery. The rest of his body hung there, suspended in the gap between the wall and whatever existed behind it, twitching as his nervous system fired random signals into me that couldn't respond anymore. We all started screaming then. Sarah grabbed my arm hard enough to bruise. Marcus was hammering on the control panel, pressing every button in sequence. Maybe the right combination would undo what we'd just seen. Rebecca had dropped to her knees and was praying in Spanish, words tumbling over each other too fast to follow. Jen just stared at Derek's body and nodded slowly, like this confirmed something he'd suspected all along. The wall sealed itself. Derek's corpse slumped to the floor, and there was no blood, not a drop. The wound at his neck looked cauterized, the edges smooth and almost surgical. "We need to get out." Rebecca was pulling the accordion gate now, her fingers scrabbling against the metal. "We need to get out right now." The elevator dropped, just a few inches, but enough to make us all stagger and grab for support. Then it stopped again, so suddenly we all bounced upward before slamming back down. I heard the crack before I saw what had happened. Marcus was on his hands and knees, staring down at his legs with an expression of almost comical confusion. Both his legs bent backward at the knee, the joints dislocated in a way that made my stomach flip over. He opened his mouth to scream, but nothing came out except a thin whistling sound. Then the pain hit him. He fell onto his side, convulsing, and that's when the bleeding started. Not from the legs, from his ears, from his nose, from the corners of his eyes. Thin streams of blood that ran down his face and pooled on the floor around Derek's body. "Make it stop," Marcus whispered, his eyes round mine, pleading. "Please, I can hear them, all of them, the children. They're under the floor and they're crying and they won't stop crying." "There are no children," Sarah said, but her voice shook. "Marcus, there's nothing there. They're reaching through." He was trying to crawl away from the floor itself, dragging his ruined legs behind him. "Their fingers. Can't you see their fingers coming through the metal?" I looked at the floor. It was solid, unmarked except for the blood. Marcus bled out over the next 10 minutes. We tried to help him. Rebecca took off her jacket and tried to make a tourniquet, but the blood wasn't coming from anywhere we could stop. It was just seeping out of him, like his body had decided to turn itself inside out, one drop at a time. Near the end, he stopped talking about the children and just stared at the ceiling with an expression of absolute peace. When he finally stopped breathing, the elevator began to change. It was subtle at first. Sarah noticed it when she reached out to touch the wall and realized her arm was longer than it should have been. Not much, just enough to register as wrong. We all looked at each other, and I saw the same wrongness in all of them. proportions that didn't quite match reality. Someone had adjusted the perspective but forgotten to do it evenly. The space inside the elevator was expanding. The walls were moving away from us, millimeter by millimeter, creating a space that shouldn't have fit inside the shaft we'd entered. The ceiling rose higher. I looked up and couldn't see the light fixture anymore, just darkness stretching upward into infinity. Chen was laughing now. A quiet, breathy sound that made my skin crawl. He was staring at his reflection in the polished metal of the control panel, watching it move just a fraction of a second after he did. His image was trying to catch up to his body. "It's not moving us through the building," he said. "It's moving us through ourselves." "That doesn't make any sense," Rebecca said. "None of this makes sense." Sarah's voice was rising toward hysteria. "We're trapped in here with 2 corpses, and the walls are breathing, and the space is wrong, and nothing makes sense." That's when she saw it. Her dead daughter standing behind me. I didn't see anything when I turned around. Just the corner of the elevator and the wall with its warm, almost organic surface. But Sarah saw something, and whatever it was, made her start clawing at her own face, nails raking deep furrows in her cheeks. "She's right there," Sarah screamed. "She's right there, and she's saying it's my fault, that I let it happen, that I knew and I didn't stop it." "Sarah, there's nothing there." I grabbed her wrists, trying to stop her from hurting herself. "You can't see her? She's right behind you. She's reaching for you. Her fingers. Oh God, her fingers." Chen and Rebecca were seeing things too now. Chen was talking to his mother, a conversation only he could hear, apologizing over and over for something he wouldn't explain. Rebecca was staring at a spot on the floor and whispering a name, "Jamie," over and over. "Jamie, I'm sorry. Jamie, please. Jamie, forgive me." The air in the elevator was thick now, hard to breathe. It tasted like copper and fear. The light was pulsing in rhythm with that breathing sound, and I realized we were inside something alive, not just trapped in a machine. We'd been swallowed. Sarah broke away from me and lunged at Chen. I didn't understand why until I heard what she was saying. "You knew what I did and you never said anything. You're just as guilty. You could have stopped me." Chen was shaking his head, backing away. "I didn't know. I swear I didn't know." "Liar!" She had her hands around his throat now, her face twisted into something animal and desperate. Rebecca was screaming at both of them, pulling at Sarah's arms. The 3 of them became a tangle of limbs and fury, accusations spilling out in fragments that made no sense to me, but clearly meant everything to them. Dark secrets, betrayals, things done in the dark that had been waiting for this moment to claw their way into the light. I saw Chen's hand close around something on the floor, the emergency cable that had come loose from the wall. He wrapped it around his own throat and pulled, his face going purple, eyes bulging. Sarah released him, and he fell backward, still pulling the cable tighter, still strangling himself with methodical determination. Rebecca had found something in her purse, a pen, or maybe a nail file. I saw the glint of metal before she drove it into Sarah's chest, just below the sternum. Sarah made a sound like air escaping from a tire. She sat down hard, blinking in confusion at the object protruding from her body. Then Rebecca started screaming, not in rage or fear, in recognition. She was looking at Sarah's face and seeing something there that horrified her beyond reason. "You're not her," Rebecca whispered. "You look like her, but you're not her. What are you? What are all of you?" She grabbed the same cable Jen had used and wrapped it around her own throat. She pulled. She didn't stop pulling even when her face turned colors, even when her eyes rolled back. She pulled until something in her neck cracked and she crumpled sideways onto Chen's body. I was now alone with 4 corpses in a space that was too big and too warm and too alive. The breathing was so loud, it drowned out everything else. In, out, in, out. The walls were definitely moving now, expanding and contracting like lungs. The floor indicator started cycling through numbers again, faster this time, going up and down and sideways through sequences that hurt to look at. I saw my reflection in the metal and watched it start to distort, melting and reforming into shapes that were almost but not quite human. That's when I understood. The elevator wasn't killing them, it was filtering them, testing them. Every single person who died had done something. Derek had hurt someone, I suddenly knew. Marcus had known about children being abused and said nothing. Sarah had let her daughter die through neglect. Jen had covered for someone he shouldn't have. Rebecca had done something terrible to someone named Jamie. The elevator was removing them from the equation, erasing them from whatever reality waited above. And I was still here because I was clean, because I'd never done anything unforgivable, because I was innocent, except a memory surfaced, old and buried deep, something I'd done when I was 8 years old, something I'd convinced myself didn't matter, didn't count, was too small to carry weight. But it wasn't small, not to the girl I'd hurt, not to the family I'd destroyed with my silence, not to the innocent person who'd gone to prison for something I'd done and never confessed to. The elevator stopped, the doors opened. I saw light beyond them. Natural light, not the sick yellow glow of the bulb above me. I heard sounds, traffic, voices, the normal world waiting just a few steps away. I ran for it, burst through the doors and into a lobby I didn't recognize, stumbled into the open air beyond. But something was wrong. Everyone was staring at me, not with relief or concern, with horror. A woman pulled her child away from me, her face twisted in revulsion. A man backed toward the street, fumbling for his phone. Someone was screaming. I turned around looking for what had frightened them. The elevator doors were closing, but there was nothing behind them. No shaft, no car, no bodies, just empty space where a building should have been. I looked down on myself. My hands were covered in blood. Not my blood from wounds that shouldn't have been my responsibility. Blood from every secret I'd ever kept. Blood from the girl I'd hurt when I was 8 and never told anyone about. Blood from the innocent person still rotting in prison because I'd been too afraid to tell the truth. The evativist was never going to let me go, because I was never clean. I was the worst one, the one who pretended to be innocent while carrying the heaviest guilt of all. I'm writing this now from a place I can't properly describe. The elevator brought me here when the doors closed again. Or maybe I was always here. Maybe I never left. Maybe everyone else was real and I'm the only ghost in this story. The breathing hasn't stopped. The walls are still warm. The space is still expanding. I can see things moving in the corners now. Shapes that might be people or might be the memories I tried to bury. I was the only one who didn't die in the elevator, but I'm starting to understand that might not be a good thing, because while everyone else got to escape into death, I'm still here, still trapped, still paying for what I did. And the worst part, the thing that keeps me awake in this place where sleep doesn't seem to exist, is that I can hear new voices now. Other people entering elevators in other buildings, other people thinking they're safe. Other people about to learn what guilt weighs when it becomes real. And I know with absolute certainty that I'm the reason they're being tested, because I made it through, because I proved that the worst ones can survive if they hide well enough. So now the elevator has to work harder, test deeper, dig further into the human heart to find the right we all pretend isn't there. I was the only one who didn't die in the elevator, but I brought something back with me. Something that's spreading through every elevator in every building in every city. Something that's learning to breathe and wait and judge. And it's all my fault. The breathing continues. And somewhere in the rhythm, I swear I can hear my name being whispered over and over. Forever. Waiting for me to finally confess to what I really did. waiting for me to say it out loud so the walls can finally, mercifully, open up and swallow me whole. But I can't say it, even now, even here. Some secrets are buried so deep that pulling them into the light means destroying whatever's left of yourself, so I stay silent. And the elevator stays hungry, and somewhere below me, around me, in dimensions I can't comprehend, more doors are opening, more people are stepping inside, more filters are being tested, and I'm the only one who knows why.